Focus. 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 Hey, man.
Hey, man.
We're back.
We are back. It seems like we were just together.
It's really weird. It's
It
really
is. It
weird.
is. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
Or maybe the reverse. I don't know.
The lighting is almost exactly the same as it was the
I know.
last
It's
time,
almost
which
like
is
we're wearing the same clothes.
one of these times we should swap and see what happens. We each have a
We could get
same
really
same shirts.
professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I got another song music video to play you.
I'm excited.
It's called "What Else Is There" by
Okay.
Royksopp.
Okay. All right.
Royksopp.
Somewhat familiar with the band. Not familiar with this piece at all. So.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're gonna go with it.
Well, that was freaking cool. That was
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Like first feelings, just very kinetic, like just so much energy. Obviously with all the particulates and the stuff sort of exploding and moving around, and it was great. And then also I loved just the simplified color palette. Just kind of
Yeah.
thoughtfully placing like tone, like the eyes were insane, just kind of going through, and then so like okay, so educate me a little bit. Royksopp is it a person or a band?
It's um it's a couple people that then bring in other people. So they like
Okay.
brought in a singer for this particular song, for instance.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're okay. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
And where are they from? Do you know?
They're I believe they are Nordic. I'm gonna
Yeah, that would have been my guess, but
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to like quiz you, but I was just, curious.
Yeah, so they're an electronic duo from Norway.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Um,
fits.
yeah, you had mentioned before, the mysterious nature. I mean, I love it. Like the feeling is just so cool. And again, sort of like the other discussion that we had, I don't need to know, like, you don't have to over explain to me like what's going on. In fact, it's like really cool and fascinating to just stare at the house, lifting up and like, I don't know what's going on, but man, it's certainly a feeling.
Yeah.
Um, even just the sudden appearance of the good boy dog, just on the road and she just kind of goes over him with her foot, kind of hitting
Yep.
the dog in the head. I was like, that had to be awesome on the set, just kind of like floating
Oh
over the
yeah,
dog.
and the dog just sort
Um,
of looks a little bit
yeah,
at
just kind of
her.
like,
Yeah,
what the? He had
with
some
the
stories to tell his
yep.
pals later. Um, yeah, really great. And again, I think another example for me of the music and the visuals just really
Hmm.
like working so well. I am a sucker. I think you know this, but I'm a sucker for like um, big, moody like vocals in like a somewhat strange setting or somewhat atypical sort of setup acoustically. And so whenever I see like a really interesting voice telling me a story like acoustically in a cool way with again, I like this some electronic vibes but also some like classic like musical foundation, and then man, throw some good visuals in that, like I'm there. So
Yeah.
yeah, another like surprise for me where I'm like, I think I want to like watch that again. I want to check out more of their music. And so that's always a good thing, and I really loved the feeling there.
Yeah, yeah. This is probably my favorite music video director. It's Martin Dothura, and he just nails it. Yeah, like you were
Martin
saying,
Dothura.
she's got such a distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And then the woman in it also is very distinctive looking.
Yes.
And then
And
yeah,
then suddenly we have like the two women who are
yep,
like the queen of the royal sort of, getting like her, headache checked, or like it was just this
yeah,
weird thing where you're like, what is happening? I don't know, but I'm there.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
leaving myself a note to check out more of Martin Dothura's work.
You
Yeah.
should definitely do that. Yeah, if you've seen, I think you'd said you'd seen Human by Car Park North. He
Yep.
directed that one too. So
That's
yeah,
that's one that I go back to on a semi-regular basis just because
yep.
it's so good.
So yeah, one
Yeah.
thing about this one that really why I resonate so much with it too is it feels like dreams that I've had. Like I'll
Yeah.
dream where I'm just kind of floating above, not really walking, and it just like captures that
And now that
perfectly.
you
It's
bring
just
that up, that is sort of the feeling of it, right? Because
mm-hmm.
I had, when I was young, I used to have dreams. I don't know when this was. It was pretty young, and they always involved Darth Vader.
Mm,
But the trick was I was sort of elevated above the ground, and I couldn't get any traction. So like Darth Vader would be coming down the hall of my house, presumably. But
mm-hmm.
like when I would go to run, like I was floating, so like I can't go anywhere. So it was this agonizing wait for Darth Vader to probably come like force choke me. Um, but yeah, now that you mention that, seeing that, it's so dreamlike in every aspect of what they're shooting. Um,
Right.
yeah, and then I want to dive in. I'm like, okay, so what is like what's happening? What's the significance of that? And then she's got like the milky liquid kind of hitting the ground, and it's just all this stuff. I definitely want to know more, but at the same time, I'm really happy that it's that
Right.
broad and wide. So yeah, really really awesome and great cinematography. Like just some
Oh
great
yeah,
shots
yeah,
um, and
yeah.
very stark.
Yep. The camera
Yeah.
movement, the composition, the lighting. Um, I think another thing about it that it feels so dreamlike too is how in dreams you'll switch scenes just sort of
Yes. For
arbitrarily
for no reason.
for
Yeah.
no reason, but it all still makes sense to you, and it still feels like it's the same thing. But it's like now you're here now. What is
Yeah.
this? But yeah,
It is funny how forgiving your brain is when you're in the dream world, right? Because
yep,
in real life, you're like, oh, did I like anything would throw you off? But in a dream, you're like, like I was
yeah,
on a dock, now it's the middle of the night. I'm in a carriage. It's
yep,
it's fine. It's
yeah.
all feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's a piece of fruit that's growing fur out of it.
Right. And who's this noble woman? Yeah.
Right. Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there are they still Royksopp? Like, is their music coming out? I mean, I know I could look it up, and I probably will, but
Yeah, I
did
don't
they?
know how active they still are. I think they're still. I'm pretty sure they're still doing stuff. Their work really is all over the place. Like
Is it?
you can hear it, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's Royksopp, but they're really varied in what they're doing.
They're pushing their own boundaries.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yeah,
I find myself I kind of find myself doing what I said I would never do because, you listen to bands, you're like, oh, okay, I love these, I love these people. They're making great stuff. And then as someone who creates things, I'm like, yeah, I want them to like, man, you keep going, like you keep exploring. And then at some point you're like, I don't know. I think I like their old stuff. Like you hit that just generational moment of like, every person says X about favorite band, they lost it after this album, which I said
yep,
I would never do. And while I would never say they lost it, and I still applaud bands for pushing, I'm always going to be like, about 3 albums back. It was kind of like
yeah,
my sweet spot. So it's
yep,
interesting seeing a band do that. I applaud them, but they're probably going to lose me at some point. But that's okay. Keep
yeah.
going. You keep doing your thing. But I may go back and listen to your old stuff.
Yeah. Well, they may like even on the same album, their stuff is all over the
Wow.
place. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
kudos to them.
Yeah. But yeah.
I may just get snacks through different
There you
tracks.
go. There you go. I wanted to just kind of look at some of
Yeah, of
these
course.
stills. I mean, like
That's an amazing shot, by the way.
look at that opening establishing shot.
Amazing.
The composition there, like everything is so muted, yet the composition is still. You've got the green hills and stuff down
I
in the
love I
foreground,
love the
and then
character that the sky is in this,
yes,
and that
yes,
sky then just puts color on everything. It like mutes everything out. So this establishing shot, it's like whoa, like you said, like this is like a vibe setter of like,
yep,
man, that sky is definitely holding me here. It's definitely keeping me in this tone. And so yeah, I want to see this movie. Like I see this first shot, I want to see like 2 hours of what the hell's going on. But
yeah. Why is that house floating there? Um, let's go forward a little bit there. Let's see. Yeah, that the imagery of the houses. I
yeah,
don't know. There's
this
just
just looks
something
like a
about.
classic painting.
Yeah, it looks like a classic painting, but it's like pulled free of its foundations and is just kind of floating off. Um, the whole idea for me of like the idea of home is a really powerful one, and the idea of it
Yes.
just kind of being uprooted and moving away. Wow. Yeah, life changes.
Wow, that's
Yeah, it
deeper than
does.
I. That's deep, and now it's yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but man, yeah, it does. It really takes into a lot of paintings and stuff. Yeah, there's like I don't know what's going on
What's
there.
going on?
I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
but it's
Uh,
just creepy. It's like creepy in a really cool. Um, it grabs you in a way. Like I was transfixed to all of this. She's floating down the street.
yes,
I don't know exactly what's happening, but I'm
can't look
there.
away. Yep,
Yeah, I can't look away. I'm there. It's great. Even just this stuff, which is just like the sort of kinetic, things happening, kind of popping off the ground. Is it raindrops? At first, I thought it was, but then it almost looked solid, and I'm like, okay, okay, like I'm still there. Like this is it feels powerful, right? Something's happening, and I think that's
yep,
sometimes like enough.
yeah. This is all about motion and pieces of stuff and moving and
Yeah,
and value and contrast and everything, and you don't even know what it really is.
that's
Yeah.
how I go through my life. But yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look,
and
that's
this forest was awesome. There was a scene where they're sort of going through the forest, and there's like I don't know if it's steam or smoke kind of coming out of different places, and they
oh
show that
yeah,
they
yeah,
show like the tree, and it almost has like two little like smoke holes that
yep,
you're like, man, I'm interested. Like I
yep,
don't know what's happening, but I'm interested. This stuff's really scary. Like I don't want to go in there.
yeah, yeah. Man, just using light to draw
Yeah,
the composition here. I mean, you know right where to look, but then the shadows are framing the whole thing.
really nice cinematography through this. Like that. Look at
Yeah,
that. That's
yep,
great. That left
yeah,
justified door, sort of character in the foreground, sort of light kind of at the top. It's just yeah, love it.
yeah. It feels like the director. It feels like he was a painter. Um,
Yeah. But also like to me, the details make me curious, like having the door open, like but just
right.
that much, the sort of kind of lingering there. Like I just the story is strong. Like I don't have to know the details. It's very very strong, and I love it.
Yeah, and you've got this blank wall with this painting that you can't quite see what it is, but
Right.
it looks like a classical painting. Um, and then yeah,
That was freaky. Some close
but
up hair growing.
yeah, out of
You need that
something.
in every good movie.
And then
This one
that.
got me because I was like, "Hey, what is that?" And then I realized there's the two ducks hanging
Yeah.
in sort of this, really really old, sort of meal scene where your meal is still hanging, from hooks above the, previously baked bread and picked fruit.
Yeah. This also has a lot of twos in it. Like you've got the two pieces of bread, the two ducks, the
Yep.
two flowers, the two jars, and then you go over to the two women there. Um,
And
and
again, really playing off that like classic painting palette, right?
yep, yep. And then whew, when she's getting tossed around,
Yep.
there they are.
Gotta love the long table scenes, just.
Yeah, she's all
So do you think
backlit.
is this like a, it's funny because they're very close in appearance, because at first when
Yeah,
I thought it was like, oh, it's a version of her character, but then it's
yep.
almost like, okay, now I'm curious, like what their relationship is. Yeah,
Yeah, there she is. Little transition and that road.
like going down the highway.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was a kid. I'd look out the window when we were driving and just kind of stare at the highway blurring, the road blurring
It's
by, just
awesome.
kind of. Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes also when you're doing that, you get the sound of the,
Mm-hmm.
the different sort of textures on the highway. Yeah, that was awesome. I mean,
Mesmerizing.
it still is. I could do it today. I'm not saying it
Right.
doesn't happen anymore. I probably don't, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Unless she's cold, she brought her blanket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it came off the ground and wrapped her up.
A very interesting look. And then again, the color of the eyes, because everything is so
Yeah.
sort of tonal, yeah, and warm, and you've got just the really cold nature of that color.
Yeah. And all the texture for freckles and stuff. See, they could have cleaned all that out and
Yep,
made everything perfect and smooth and not real. And uh, this is way
no,
more interesting. Way more
totally
interesting.
agree.
Yep. Yep.
It's like a great album cover, like that
Yeah.
frame. It's just,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
and then
Cool.
who's in that shot? No, it's fine, but in that
Yeah.
shot, even just the mystery of it, there's someone walking the other way, like in shadow. Like
Yep. Going the
I
other
don't.
way. Who is like?
I mean,
And why isn't he
it's
reacting to this person float?
right.
Which is another thing about dreams is you think weird stuff happens and then people won't react. It's normal. It doesn't. There's nothing weird
Yeah,
about it, but it is weird.
it's
Yep.
everythingville. Like anything can
Yep.
happen. So why would you react? Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yep. Yeah. See now, imagine pitching this concept to a committee.
yeah. Oh, I can
What?
imagine it. But
Yeah.
the thing I like to imagine less is sort of the questions that would be asked or the notes, you know, you would get, just the,
Right.
the write up of notes.
Yeah.
Okay, can we not have the houses come off the ground? Like that seems a little weird. Just
Yeah.
really random
Can we make it
things.
chocolate syrup instead of milk? It just
Right.
that doesn't.
Exactly. We could get a partnership deal with
Yeah.
chocolate syrup,
See, we
and we
could
would pay for
brand it.
half of this video.
Can you put
Yeah.
some Coke on the table there and maybe, yeah,
Yep. Just turn the
yep,
can around. That's all you got to do.
yep,
Your video is paid for. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's you make fun of it, and I know why people do that sometimes, but I think, like, as artists, I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? Because I think anytime you anytime you can stick to an idea, I often say, whatever it is, film, game, anything, whatever you write down in sort of the proposal, the document, it's never going to be the same at the end, just because of process and like how
right,
things go. But you
yes,
want that to happen because either you or a team of like artists have sort of discovered along the way and combined ideas and found things, and then you're like, oh, okay. And so that to me is the best case scenario.
yep,
I wouldn't want to like put a ceiling over it that I wrote at the beginning. But
yeah,
the thing that also happens is when you turn in an idea and it's like, yeah, love it. We totally love it. We're going to give you some money for it. Here's what you do. I mean, and imagine like that video.
mm-hmm,
Then, second or third week, you start getting some feedback. Hey, we want to make this hyper colorful actually. Like, what? That's not
yeah,
the idea. Oh, but so and so here has done this before, and we're going to let him help you. Like, oh, I don't know this person. You know, just random things start happening. And so like there's this interesting balance of letting something happen and grow and evolve, but for the right reasons, for creative reasons. Um, you and I both know you always have to balance it with like the reality of business. Like you've got to get your stuff funded. I mean, these are all the deals you make as a creative. So the goal, I think, is to keep it as
Right.
intact as possible while getting it made. And so I do love seeing things that are so, and it happens, right? It happens in film and music and games, but it's not as prevalent anymore. You know, you can
Yep.
usually see where the corners have been sanded off. And so there was this great time. You can almost see these like pops. I mean, there was a time in the 90s with like grunge alternative, you know, sort of where it's
Yep.
just, I don't know what is happening, but you know, everyone's shooting like rogue videos and crazy stuff. And so that was really cool. And then, you know, even like the Nordic, like there are bands that come out of like the Nordic areas that I still don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're trying to say, but it's awesome. And so
Yep.
seeing something like this always brings a smile to my face because it doesn't feel polished in a very good way. It still has the corners on it, you know, and
Yep.
it feels a little bit dangerous, which is awesome. And so, yeah, I love
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah. This is definitely not pandering to anyone, really.
No,
Um,
no,
yeah. It's yeah, kind of like along the lines of what you're saying too. You know, you've probably been on projects. I definitely have where there's a moment I can just remember it where okay, this is now turned too far,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, this right here, right now, you just lost it. You just there's
yep.
not enough of it
You
left,
feel
or
you feel it come off the rails.
yep, you're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
oh. On the other hand, like when I'm doing picture books, when I'm working with an editor who really gets it, the changes that come back make it better,
that's gonna
and
be awesome.
then it's like, oh, okay, well that's cool. Well, let's do that, and it just and then it becomes a back and forth and a collaboration kind of thing, and then it's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah,
both two
I
sides.
realize yeah, there are two sides, but I think it's interesting though, and I know we're getting slightly off topic of this video, but I do think that as a creator, I think sometimes it's interesting you develop this sense. I know I do, and I'm pretty sure you do. You develop a sense where you can tell really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
like how that's going to go. You know, so it's like, oh, hey, we're going to introduce you to so and so. And within a few minutes, you're like, oh my God, like I'm saying sentences, they're saying sentences, or kind of riffing off, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be super fun. Then there's the opposite, which is
Yep.
like, you haven't said one thing that I necessarily agree with, nor do I think you're listening to the words coming out of my mouth. So I think that, you know, I think a lot of it is you develop kind of a sense of like flow, you know,
Yep.
and it could come from anywhere. It could be a student, it could be, you know, a veteran, could be anybody. And I think it's just personality and intent. Um, and then I think, you know, a lot of it is also money. Money gets into everything, right? Like you need money, but if that's your driver, I think it's going to pull you from like people like you and I who, yes, we need money, but we also have a reason for trying to do something. Like I look at
Yep.
that video, you need money to produce it. But if I were to sit and analyze it with math, it would not end up the same way. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we could talk about this for a long time, but I think it's cool to see that era of both music video and music, and see something that's experimental and a little bit dangerous, and it feels like, you know, it hasn't been designed by committee. I'm always for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this kind of thing is the thing. Like I've watched this over and over and over. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I just love it. So cool.
All
Well,
right, we
there we
rambled.
go. We
Yeah,
did. We're the Ramblers.
that's us.
That's us. Thanks, Royksopp and Martin Dithura.
Exactly. Thanks. We had a good time.
Yes.